So on February 14th, 2018, at around early in the morning of that day, Nicholas Cruz went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High in Florida and murdered 17 children. He injured 17 others. I remember how shocking it was at that time, but in contrast to what we see on a daily basis here, it kind of is just another day in America. But he shot and murdered. He shot 17, killed 17 people. He injured 17 others, and it started a movement. I remember David Hogg became very active in trying to do something about stemming the flow of guns. It started to be a conversation. That act in itself was so heinous it started a conversation. Nicholas Cruz was sentenced to life in a Florida prison. He will die. He will spend the rest of his natural life there. And he did not get the death penalty, which seems ironic to me. Florida is a state that often prides itself on being tough on crime. It prides itself on, it's at the forefront of, the argument about being tough on crime and how we need to keep our streets safe. Who has been more of a danger to people than a man who would walk in our schools, a young man who would walk into our schools with an assault weapon and slaughter 17 people? Slaughtered 17 people. If he is not eligible for the death penalty, then Florida needs to abolish the fact that you can ever get the death penalty. When you murder 17 children and a jury can't see a pathway to finding you guilty of such a heinous crime that you are to have your life ended. I do not understand how you could, because if slaughtering 17 children isn't tantamount to the death penalty, then what the hell is? What could happen that would be so egregious that you would then say, oh, no, that wasn't, but this is? It is remarkable to have conversation. And first off, I'm ambiguous about the death penalty, to say the least. I think it's been unfairly applied. I think racism and status of the victim and poverty, and there are too many things that have to do with whether a person is worthy of getting the death penalty or whether the life taken is worthy of having it applied. Having said that, if you're going to have a statute that allows for the taking of human life, if you believe that he has crossed, or he or she has crossed a bridge that is so far that is beyond redemption, then I don't know another case that would be that egregious. 17 children slaughtered at his hand. Texas gave a woman the death penalty, Carter Faye Baker, and she said she was a born-again Christian. And they're like, well, I guess you'll see Jesus when you take this shot. But I know Jesus. We'll tell him we said hi. If the possibility for if Nicholas Cruz, who slaughtered 17 children on February 14, 2018, and injured 17 others in a mass shooting spree, if he is not eligible for the death penalty, if he didn't get the death penalty for the heinous crime he committed, Florida needs to stop pretending like this death penalty is going to ever matter. Because who would you give it to if not him? Children were murdered by somebody, a monster, and 12 people sat in that jury and decided that act wasn't worthy of applying the death penalty. Now, I said this earlier in my conversation. I said I'm ambiguous about the death penalty. I've seen it so unfairly applied. I think that there are a lot of factors that just shouldn't be applied. There's faulty human judgment. There is prejudice. There's racism. There's all kinds of things. But in this case, we know what happened. A teenager, 18, 19-year-old boy, got an assault weapon and slaughtered children. And then when it was called for him to account for his actions, a jury said, this is not worthy of the death penalty. If slaughtering 17 children on a winter day in 2018 and injuring 17 others does not reach the standard that you need to have the death penalty applied, then we need to seriously consider abolishing. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.